104% tariffs. That's the subject of today's video, and we talked about this number yesterday. We weren't sure if the White House and Trump were serious about it, but I guess they are. It's laughable because it's so crazy. Headline, White House says Beijing missed deadline to lift retaliatory tariffs. U.S. to hike China tariffs to 104%. My first reaction, crazy. My second reaction, insane. My third reaction, okay, now that we've calmed down, does that mean everything's going to double in cost at Walmart? I mean, you guys know this. Walmart's effectively cheap goods from China. You can talk about Amazon has a lot of cheap goods from China. Temu, Shine, are all these going to go up double? Probably. I mean, 104% tariffs. And if we're in a full-blown trade war, it could go higher. Like at this point, we're in such absurdity land. I guess now we should be taking bets. Do I hear 200, 300, 400, 1,000% tariffs? I mean, why not at this point? Trump will hit China with 104% tariffs. Costs are going to skyrocket, guys. They're even talking about this on Fox News. Have a watch.
So what is the reaction in the White House to the fact that this noon deadline for China to begin some sort of discussion came and went? Will we now see 104% tariff against China?
I don't even know what to say. You know, it's like, what else can you say? I mean, and that's a Stephen Miller guy. We'll have a listen to what he says. But, you know, essentially the White House is issuing these ultimatums and China's like just ignored it, basically. And I guess right now we're in a game of chicken to see who blinks first. Both sides are standing steady. Let's see what Stephen Miller has to say.
Well, very simply, this is about the President of the United States defending the core national security interests of the United States. China has hollowed out our defense industrial base. This is very important for your viewers to understand.
All right, so the argument they're going to make, and I get the argument, and I want to explain it to you, is that the USA is too dependent on China. We build too many goods in China, so we got to, you know, figure out a different kind of system and bring back the manufacturing home. I get their argument. The issue is going to be, though, is that our economy has definitely changed. U.S. workers are paid much more than, say, a country like China, Vietnam, Cambodia, etc. And shifting the essentially factory work to the USA, I just don't think it's possible and keep the same system of economics that we have in USA. Maybe some people want to completely blow up that system, I guess. We're going to get into this. If you haven't seen this documentary, American Factory, please do. But it really illustrates the problem well. You know, will Americans be willing to work in factories for long hours for little pay? Because that's a lot of what, you know, the American economy is based on. Again, cheap goods, not just from China, from many countries around the world. I think you guys inherently know this. And I guess we're calling for these kind of jobs to return. The other problem is it's not just the jobs, say, going overseas. A lot of these jobs are gone because of automation. We have machines to do the work that humans used to do. It's a different world. I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to play it if you've never seen it. This is Elon Musk talking about workers in China. And just remember, the whole system that Trump and Musk want is basically they control everything and you all work for them, long hours, low pay. Just have a listen. You'll see.
I think there will be some very strong companies coming out of China. There's just a lot of super talented, hardworking people in China that are strongly believe in manufacturing, and they won't just be burning the midnight oil; they'll be burning the 3 a.m. oil. So they won't even leave the factory type of thing. Whereas in America, people are trying to avoid going to work at all.
So if you've ever listened to Musk speak, and oftentimes the Musk fanboys and fangirls celebrate Musk, they think he's like a superhero, like a god. Again, he wants to be basically the factory owner. Same with Trump. He wants you all to work not just to midnight, but work till 3 a.m. And he'll say, oh, it's so great that you work till 3 a.m. and come to work on Saturdays. And if you're lucky, you'll get Sunday off. That's the world that they want. And it's so strange to me that anyone in the 99.9% of people, which is basically the rest of us, would think, oh yeah, I want to go to this world that Trump and Musk want to create for all of us. We're all going to be factory workers, little pay, long hours. And yeah, I get it. Trump and Musk are going to get rich off of that. And that's the scam right there. I'm just showing you guys what it is the promise that you're all going to be rich. But it's like they're going to get rich off of your labor. That's what it's all about. I write about this stuff in my book. It's called Positive Angle. I worked in China, Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. Please have a watch if you haven't, read if you haven't seen it. I talk about this stuff because it's different than what you'll hear in other places. Many people out there, be it YouTube or people who watch Trump or Musk, have never been to these other countries, and it's very different. Until you see it with your own eyes, you don't know. I talk against exploitation of people in my book because it's something I'm uncomfortable with. And this is what it is. They want to go take us back in time. This is Trump today. Have a listen. You'll see.
Maybe, our country was the strongest, believe it or not, from 1870 to 1913. You know why? It was all tariff-based. We had no income tax. Then in 1913, some genius came up with the idea of let's charge the people of our country, not foreign countries that are ripping off our country. And the country was never that kind of wealth. We had so much wealth, we didn't know what to do with our money.
So this is something that Trump's been saying for a long time, and it speaks to a certain base of the population, okay? I'll try to make it as clear as day. Effectively, Trump's like, hey, let's go back to the days of the plantation where, effectively all the white people could just, live in their plantation houses. And it wasn't even all the white people, it was just some of the white people owned the plantations, and the rest of you are going to all work in the fields. That's basically what we're talking about. And it's weird that you're making these kind of arguments. Oh my God, we were so rich back then. I guess for Trump's and the Musk is apartheid South Africa. They want to go that kind of world. He's referring to 1913 because I had to look this stuff up because we usually don't talk about this stuff. People usually don't make these arguments, at least in the circles that I run into. Like, hey, let's go back to the days of plantations and, early part of American history. So 1913 back then in those elections, they were basically talking about how to fund the American government. That's basically what it is, right? How to fund our system. And I guess there's this group of people out there that really hate the government. That would be the Trumps and the Musks. They just hate the government. They want to go back to where, just we have all these plantations and wealthy landowners own everything. And the discussion was, should we introduce a income tax or not? They tried to income tax back in the Civil War. I know we're talking about U.S. history, just to understand kind of where this stuff's coming from. And it wasn't that popular, right? This idea of taxing people just wasn't that popular. No one likes taxes. Let me be clear. No one likes taxes. I don't like taxes. No one does. But it's just necessary to keep things functioning. I do like roads. I do like public education. I do like public transportation, right? I get it. It's like you got to fund our system, our society. They want to basically cut all our stuff, and this is sort of the stuff I'm just showing you guys back in U.S. history, because the debate's just been about how do we fund our system. And if you guys understand history at all, I mean, it's important to have a functioning government, to be it regulations, so we keep these robber barons in check. The Musk and the Trump, they don't want any regulations. They want to basically have child labor, work you as long as it can. So, screw minimum wage, screw any kind of overtime laws, screw any kind of, if you get pregnant, just you keep working. If you understand, that's why I had to show you the Musk thing. Trump refers to everyone being so rich, and we had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And the thing that really just came to mind, looking at this, was what did old rich people do with their money back, in history? If you guys ever been to Rhode Island, and you may or not know, I went to Brown, and I mention this because I met people who are from these kind of families. I had Rockefellers in my class. I went to the same school as Trump and Musk. That was also at Penn. Yes, I know sometimes people say, what are you talking about? Sometimes you can go to more than one school, which I did. I have more than one degree. But I mention that because when you meet the wealthiest people, you understand there's a different world. And I mentioned the breakers. This is what rich people did. And I skipped over this. It's just Trump saying the 1893 or whatever date he's saying to 1913. He's just talking about the Gilded Age, where you had these really wealthy families, and then they would build these mansions. This is part of U.S. history. You can go see them, and they're in Newport, Rhode Island. They're actually quite interesting. They look like this. A lot of people don't realize we had this and we still do. We still do today. I don't say we still do today. It's just this upper echelon of extremely wealthy families. Back in these period, it would have been on the oil, on the railroads, this stuff. Everyone works in the factory. But they would build these crazy types of houses. And Trump, when he fantasizes about these old eras, he's talking about these old, in past, he's just oh man, these people had this money. They used to build these great wealth and mansions. Right, sure. Some people had money. But if you want to take it back in time, okay, get rid of public hospitals, get rid of public education. Only a few people get wealthy, right? Back then, disease is much more rampant. Again, they want to dismantle all of our, vaccines and stuff like that. They want to take us back in time. That's what it boils down to. They just want to take us back in time, right? The Gilded Age. I'm just showing you guys old, cartoons from then, and people used to complain about this stuff. They used to complain about the robber barons basically abusing the worker. And I just feel like, there's some people who just have no understanding of history, which I understand that. That means, because remember, Trump must want to destroy education. There's some people who purposely do understand history, and they just want to go back to, again, where a certain group of, small segment of the population works on, owns the plantations, and everyone else works in the fields. That's where they want to go to. And it's insane that we're talking about this. They're also talking about this as well. They think all of these countries are going to come and negotiate. For real, have a listen to this.
The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us.
So that's their talk. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us. I mean, we're gonna see. I don't think that is a great stance to take. Basically, it's like, hey, we don't need you other countries, right? We're just so awesome. We're the USA. We're number one. We're gonna do everything fine without you. Good luck with that, America. That's all to say. Good luck with that. If you understand that there are other countries in the world, and some Americans don't get that, I understand. Guys, I get it more. If you're a MAGA Trump person, you think everyone in the world only speaks one language. You think everyone in the world only lives in like one place, and you think we all eat, Thanksgiving turkey and, watch American football, right? That's what you think. But there's a lot of people out there in the world that do all kinds of stuff. It's a big world out there, and they don't have to trade with USA if they don't want to. You can't force someone to trade with you. I mean, and if you're going to put out these crazy high tariffs, I mean, they're just going to have new trading blocks all around the world. Europe will trade with China. China will trade with Japan and Korea. Japan will trade with Europe. Canada will jump in and start trading with other countries. Maybe, Canada will be like, hey, you know what, Brazil, let's have a foreign trade there. Let's just, screw the USA, all that stuff. I mean, it's just a lot of this stuff, it comes down to arrogance, to be perfectly frank. They just think America is the most awesome place and only place. More from Fox News. They're essentially all the Trump voters and all the Fox people are putting all their hopes and dreams on Trump, who's like this business person who has I think 6 bankruptcies, multiple divorces, multiple kids. I mention that stuff because you have to understand his life is a wreck, but he's good at putting out a TV show and good at conning people, and willing to con people. Not everyone wants to come out and say lies on TV. It's crazy. Just listen, you'll see.
If Scott Besson is talking about as many as 70 countries, if Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, is talking about 70 countries, if President Trump is talking about all these countries, then you know that they are looking to negotiate and make deals that will open up markets for the U.S.
Right. So I just want to show you what they're saying. They all these people, they have this massive, they're putting this massive, in my opinion, a lie that Trump is a fantastic business person. That's essentially the lie. And then the con is that you're all going to get an awesome, fantastic job. I mean, that's the con and the lie. You can hear some more.
President Trump is a master negotiator. We saw this in his first administration. There were some tense moments, but he knew where he was going. He knew where he had leverage, and we got to a great place. I'm highly confident these economic discussions, these tariff negotiations, we're going to end in a very strong place for the American people.
Right, he's highly confident. This is what China's response is the last couple of hours from the embassy. The Chinese economy is not a pond, but an ocean, right? And they actually speak this way a lot of time in their speeches. A storm may churn a pond, but it cannot rattle the ocean. The ocean has weathered countless tempests. This time is no different. And, in terms of like the point of view from China, what they'll always go with is that we're just a really old country, the oldest in the world, right? That they make these kind of arguments. And I thought this was an interesting one. China's economy is not a pond, but an ocean. Because remember, Leavitt, they're just trying to say, oh, you guys need us more than we need you. China's also saying here, if the U.S. disregards the interests of both nations and international community by persisting with tariff wars and trade wars, China will have no choice but to fight to the end. Again, these are these responses from China. China also says China is not a seeker of trouble, but make no mistake, when challenged, we will never back down. Intimidation and threats never work with China. And this is actually pretty funny. China was actually trolling the USA Basically, the gist of it from this picture is they're saying, hey, we can negotiate with penguins better than you can. So even China is trolling Trump here. I thought that was pretty funny myself. But I just want to make it clear, guys, I am a U.S. citizen. I back the USA. It does not mean, though, I have to back Trump 100%. I think he's a lunatic and crazy. Just because I'm a U.S. citizen doesn't mean I have to celebrate robber barons and celebrate factory owners and think that, we should all celebrate wealth in the country. I think right now we have a real cultural problem to where people worship wealth too much and they get conned too easily. In my opinion, I've said it several times on the channel. If you really want to support Americans, support public education, support public transportation, support public health care. I want rights for workers. I don't want to take rights away. But that's what Trump and Musk are up to. They want to eliminate any kind of regulations to protect you. They want to eliminate your rights. You see it in the news and the headlines every single day. I just try my best. I just want to educate you. And if you want to do some independent reading right outside, just look up the Gilded Age. I think that's a good place to start. So I do appreciate your time, everyone. And I'll catch you all in the next video.